Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO Zach Stanley.
I thought if I'm not here, then it's not as always.
God, why can't he just take the compliment? Why?
Well, because sometimes you just say whatever you want and introduce however you want to introduce, and then I get caught off guard.
Not on the show today, Zach Stanley. No longer going to be with us. But someone that is always with us is Nick Steblenko, who had his first experience with the Weekend Fantasy Focus, and he actually didn't know how it was formatted. It was a little strange.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to do, and I think a lot of my picks failed miserably, but I had a good time.
Who won the Would You Rather? Do we know?
See, that's the funny part. Before we did Would You Rather, he goes, "Can I see the Would You Rather?" So I was like, that's not how this works.
You got to be ready, baby.
It has to be lightning quick. You have to go, ooh, that guy. Not that guy. I want that guy.
Yeah, I did. I did that a lot, and then a lot of them didn't work. So, sorry to everybody that put Jake Locker, Justin Hunter, and Kendall Wright in their lineups this week. Didn't work out as planned.
To be fair, that's one of those popular picks that just didn't happen. Everything pointed to that.
Why do we have to be fair? I don't think we have to be fair at all. That just sucked.
Fine, I'm saying
that sucked.
Would you still make that same pick every time?
I'm starting to kind of second guess that.
Why?
Well, have either of the first two offenses really dominated the Cowboys secondary yet?
Yeah, you know what? Everybody was talking about that after the first game, and I was like, I didn't see them play that badly during that game. I saw them get put in a lot of difficult situations in the first half where they had short fields in front of them.
Exactly.
And then the second half, nothing really happened.
Well, the only thing that we do know is that Delaney Walker knows how to catch a pass. So that's the only thing we've learned from the
evidently
Cowboys defense.
He was the exploitation spot.
Yeah, I managed to somehow get him in one lineup. I was like, oh, Delaney Walker was the one stack I put in that worked. But of course I had Kendall Wright, and I had Justin Hunter, and I also had Jake Locker. So I got one of the four right in one game, maybe.
That doesn't work out very well.
Nope, no, it did not. He did not make up for it, although he did have 35 points on StarFantasyLeague.com. Holy crap.
Yep.
That's a big number. All right, we got to get into the one NFL Sunday game that everybody in Western New York wants to talk about. The AFC East leading 2-0, undefeated Buffalo Bills.
How about them Bills?
And thankfully the Packers got it done yesterday afternoon. So
I was like, wait a minute, why are we...
So the Bills are alone at the top.
Okay, I've never wanted a Jets win in my life more than I did the other day because I happened to be watching the game with a Jets fan who would no longer speak to me after the game. Jets fans are a little bit angry when they lose.
Okay, but you had a tough Thursday, though.
What happened on Thursday?
Yeah, he likes to ignore the fact that his team lost.
It doesn't exist?
Yeah,
were you not? Oh, you weren't on the show. Yeah, I blacked out after that happened.
Right.
I just completely.
I just don't know why.
So then you do understand what it's like for another fan losing.
Yes, I get very irrational, I'll say.
I don't know why any Jets fan would be upset about that. They didn't even deserve to be in that game to begin with.
Okay, you're gonna hold on. I know that you're a Packers fan. Put that aside for a second. Geno Smith. Go ahead.
Yeah, he looked good. He looks good. He looks like he's progressing. That's awesome.
The pass that didn't count was one of the best passes I've ever seen the men throw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he dropped
a nice dime in on Eric Decker there too. I mean, he played well. But let's remember that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers know how to play on the offensive side of the ball, and there's really no reason to think that they should have been within a touchdown had they not screwed up so much in the first half.
I remembered that. Because Rodgers and Jordy Nelson were my QB wide receiver pairing this week.
Hey. Oh, wait, hold on. It's the Zach pat yourself on the back hour. No?
Well, the reason that I didn't get everything that I wanted out of daily fantasy this week was because my top player was Jamal Charles. And I made the decision to start Jamal Charles on either Saturday night or Sunday morning. I think it was Saturday night over DeMarco Murray.
Oh, that one hurts.
Ouch. It was damaging.
That one does hurt indeed. But let's actually talk about this game because not only did Buffalo win to go to 2-0, they beat a big rival in the Miami Dolphins, and they handily beat the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, they dominated. You thought that there was a chance that there was going to be a little bit of a letdown just because there was so much emotion pumped up around the stadium for this game and so much
hold
excitement.
on. I want to know what the atmosphere was, because you get a different kind of thing when they're 1-0, they're going home for their home opener, leading the division. When's the last time that happened?
Let me give you a little glimpse of what it was like.
Hold on, are we allowed to talk about this on the air first
Yes,
off? Okay,
yes.
good.
In just the first 10 minutes of us arriving and parking to tailgate, which was at like 9:15 or 9:30 in the morning, a guy came running at us with a superhero costume on, a superhero of which I have never seen. I couldn't tell you who this superhero was.
He was Bill's man.
But he had a cape, and it was like a full costume, and he had a piece of paper taped across his chest that said Superhero Terry for Terry Pagula. That was how my day started.
That's fantastic.
That sounds about right. So I'm assuming
great.
that's where the rest of the day went.
That's got to be great for Bills fans. I mean, this yesterday was a great day for them, and I just had to feel like they were definitely going to win this one all the way. There's so many good things. There were just so many good things surrounding this team. Now the question is, can they take this, go forward, and continue? Because they did do a lot of things right yesterday, but they had a lot of things going for them as well. So a lot of good things. Sammy Watkins, hello Sammy,
Yes.
welcome to the NFL.
He's here.
CJ Spiller electrifying the crowd with that kickoff return. A lot of great things happen. Now we just have to see, can they actually start manufacturing? Because I did see a couple things I didn't like out of that offense as well.
Yeah, I actually am curious. I wanted to go there. What didn't you like? EJ managed to play he managed the game well.
He had some great passes.
Absolutely. There's one big thing that I really didn't like, and that's the way that they lined Fred Jackson up. They did it out of shotgun formation a lot. They did a lot of draw plays with him. I just feel like he's more of a power back, and if they put it into a strong I formation or an offset I formation and really pound the rock, I feel like they're going to have more success. And then, of course, they also underutilized C.J. Spiller in the passing game, in my opinion. I think both of those things need to be addressed. But either way, they got the job done. The offense was able to move the ball, and they got Sammy Watkins involved. That was a big, big key.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was some definite progress in the overall game planning and flexibility, even just from last week. They kind of opened it up a little more, and it was definitely apparent that they wanted to get Sammy Watkins as many looks as they could because he is so explosive in open space. And a lot of those plays that they had, he was wide open.
Yep.
Well, and it's nice to see them doing this on offense against a team that wasn't in the bottom 5 last year in overall defense. Because Chicago, we kind of assumed that they were going to have a pretty good offensive game no matter what. But against Miami, who was not horrible last season, it's nice to see, like you said, a little bit of progression here.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm very excited about is that if you look at these teams that they're playing, usually when you see this type of start, we saw this type of start like 5 years ago, I think. Maybe it's like 6 years ago.
It's like
now.
4-0, right?
It's 2008 or something. And they got out of the gate, but then you start seeing these teams that they had beat not play as well versus other teams. But now you've got the Bears going and beating the Niners last night, and then you had Miami coming off a huge win against New England. So these are two very high quality wins.
I completely agree, and I'm very excited. You have to get into this whole Bills fever thing, right?
I mean,
you have to. Even if you're not a fan, I'm not a fan.
There's so much passion in here. They've gone through so much over the last decade, 15 years really, and it's such a big momentous year with everything surrounding Ralph Wilson and Jim Kelly that it's hard not to be rooting for them.
John does say this with a metaphorical gun to his head, considering that he's in an office full of Bills fans, but I salute you nonetheless.
Okay. It's more fun if the Bills are good living here.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna try to get out to a Buffalo Bills game. I'm gonna attempt to do that. I'm probably gonna choose the Steelers instead.
Just welcome to Western New York because 2-0. Everybody's still holding their breath, okay?
And a big one next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
San Diego.
I know. That's my team.
That's your team.
That's my team. I'm 12-4. I'm still sticking to 12-4. I'm not Nick. I'm not gonna flip flop.
Even with the
You still
injury,
don't know
even
the
with the
definition
injury
of
that
that,
we're going
by
to
the way.
talk about.
We're gonna talk about it later. We actually what?
You still don't know the definition of flip-flop, apparently.
That's flip flopping. If I pick 12 wins and then I go, nah, actually they're like an 8-8 team. That's flip flopping.
Okay, but I don't do that, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. If I get it wrong, I say I got it wrong.
He did say he got all the Titans people wrong. We got to give him that.
This was going back to the St. Louis Cardinals Cincinnati Reds thing where he goes, no, I think St. Louis will win the division. No, I meant Cincinnati was going to win.
No, I said St. Louis would win the division. No, I said one would win the division and the other one would make it to the World Series.
Why are we talking about baseball?
That's not flip-flopping.
Why are we
Because
talking
you
about
brought it
baseball?
up.
You did bring it up.
I bring up everything. All right, well, the one thing we have to bring up today, because it's the biggest story of the weekend, it's everybody's doing horrible things in the NFL, and the NFL has an absolute PR nightmare on their hands, the biggest of which is Adrian Peterson, arrested, not just charged or anything, actually arrested, I believe in the state of Texas, for felony child endangerment for, beating his kid with a tree branch or a switch or whatever they call that.
Yeah, he apparently he punished his kid with a tree branch, and that's something that happens down in Texas apparently. And the pictures were pretty graphic. They were pretty disturbing, and it raises a ton of questions. But you know what? I've heard a lot of people on both sides of the fence. I've kind of taken a stance that we're getting into murky waters here. When you're telling people how to raise their children, that's a very tough thing to do. But at the same time, you also beat the kid so bad that he had a lot of gashes on his backside. So there's not. I don't know. It's a really gray area.
That's something I wanted to raise here because they're saying he's probably going to be charged under the new rules having to do with spousal abuse or whatever it's called. Do you think that's a really weird decision to make, to put it in the same category as spousal abuse?
Well, it's domestic violence, right? I mean, it's a very
child
wide umbrella.
endangerment in general. I don't know if it should be in the same
I
umbrella.
agree. I think if you look at what happened with Ray Rice, there was no controversy there.
That's what I'm saying.
There was a lot of controversy, but of what actually happened.
Yeah,
This is
polarizing.
Yeah,
the other one was not.
This is much more difficult because we know that this happens a lot more than we talk about, and that things in other locations across the country are a lot different from how we grew up.
Well, could you imagine this conversation 50 years ago? Like our parents, our grandparents would be like, "What's the problem? Like, what are you talking
absolutely.
about?"
But we can
beat
also
our,
say
we
can
beat
say
our
the
kids.
same thing about racism and homophobia and on and on and on.
Although I'm pretty sure, some of these things probably were quieter, but if they were brought to light with social media back then, it probably would be the same kind of thing.
It's just such a tough subject because it's not your kid. You don't get to tell him how to raise his child, but that's kind of the age-old argument.
When you get towards abuse, then it really doesn't matter how you're raising your child because you're committing a crime.
But now you can talk about that word, abuse. Is abuse when you try to teach a kid one time that he did something wrong, or is it constant and it's an ongoing cycle?
From the text messages, it didn't seem like this was a one-time thing. But
all right, well,
but who's to say that this is the only time that it got this far? I don't know. You don't know. That's
You're
what's
right.
tough about
You're right.
this.
That is definitely the problem here. We don't know. It's a slippery slope to go down. It's going to be interesting. He's potentially going to be playing in Week 3, so there'll be plenty to talk about this week. After the break, it's time to talk about Jonald's mailbag. And you're on the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Jonald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
That's right. We heard your comments and your concerns that there wasn't enough Jonald's mailbag in our shows for the past month or so. So we give you a double dose of Jonald's mail. That's not true at all. We just give you one.
Well, it's enough time dedicated to you and your bag of stuff, that papers you have in it and whatever it is.
It's called a mailbag, not my bag of stuff that occasionally has some papers in it.
Well, you don't have other fun tidbits like the King Stanislaus.
King Stanislaus's mailbag and other tidbits, right?
Fun tidbits.
Someday it'll be back.
Fun tidbits.
Yeah, the best part about, if you haven't heard Stanislaus's mailbag on the show, Zach randomly finds his way into the mailbag, even though we didn't schedule it. It just happens.
I heist it.
It's a coup of sorts, I would say, right?
I found this foam football in his mailbag. That is one of the fun tidbits.
That's a fun tidbit. What about Wally? Did Wally get in there too?
No, Wally was a gift from my aunt.
Okay, just checking.
But he is a fun tidbit.
I agree.
And he could be in the mailbag.
I do love Wally. He's a good mascot.
Yeah,
nobody
he's a heck
nobody
of a
knows
guy.
what the hell he is, but he's a Wally.
He's a monster.
He's a green monster.
Sure. Thank you.
He looks like Oscar the Grouch, except he smiles.
Yes.
So he's Oscar
and he has orange hair. I
He's
don't think,
Oscar
I
the
don't think
Happy.
Oscar has orange hair.
Oscar the Glad? I don't know. All right,
Close
we got
cousin to Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah, probably. They're in the same genus family. No? All right, we got to get into
Wally
the
the
mailbag.
Whimsical.
No, stop it. All right, Kenny D writes, Team USA won the FIBA World Cup over Serbia on Sunday in a blowout. What will it take for this competition to actually mean something? Do you guys actually, hold on, I have a question. Do you know when this game actually happened
Can
yesterday?
I be honest with you? I didn't even know that game did happen.
Okay, that's the worst part about this. This is why I posed the question. Do you know what time this game happened yesterday?
I would guess 3 o'clock.
AM.
Did you actually know that?
No.
The game tipped off at 3 p.m. exactly. That's why I was confused that you
3
knew that.
PM?
Because that's usually the time. That's why I knew.
Okay. The worst thing ever, I knew the game was going on. I actually have been watching the FIBA World Cup. I enjoy international basketball. It's a different kind of basketball. It's our favorite sports. I really just enjoy, especially international. The crowds are insane, especially for a competition like this. But to go up against Sunday football, especially this early in the season, what a death sentence!
They don't really have a choice. This is an international competition.
It was on
so
ESPN 2. It wasn't even on ESPN.
I know, but that's there's an international committee ruling over this, and they're concentrated on the international space. I don't think they really care about.
No, ESPN
NFL
is
football.
hold on. ESPN is the worldwide leader. How do you not even put it on ESPN? The main stage.
Well, that's for them to decide.
Because everybody's waiting to watch bowling. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand this. I'll be honest. I did have it on my TV. I was watching Sunday Ticket.
Was bowling
on my
on?
computer? I don't know. I didn't.
I'm guessing if bowling was on, it's because they have an agreement that it
Sundays
has
are
to be
for
on
bowling.
ESPN. Yeah.
Don't you know that? Sundays are for bowling.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's true.
Stop that.
Listen, I'm sorry, but this just isn't relevant. There's nothing relevant about this because there's no competition. The U.S. is going to walk over everybody every single time.
But
until that doesn't happen. There was 1 year that it did not happen when Argentina won.
It wasn't
and that was
1
it.
year. It wasn't 1 year. They won.
When's the last time somebody else has won?
They won the Olympic gold that year, and then either the FIBA World Cup before or whatever they were calling it, the international competition. We didn't win that year either. We lost. It was the team that Paul Pierce was on. We lost that year, and then we lost the Olympics 2 years later. So there were 2 competitions in a row USA did not win.
All right, so
This is like
they still dominate.
They won by 40.
This
I
is
understand.
something that only the ultra passionate NBA fan is going to watch. I saw the semifinals on. I put it on the TV in the office, and I was casually glancing at it because it's cool to watch some talented guys kick some ass. That's about it.
Honestly, that's where my question is. Should we change it so maybe one of the the FIBA World Cup is the under 22, the college kids?
Should we change it so that they can we'll just give them some of our players
No,
so
that's-
that they can get a little more
No,
talented?
okay, hold on. They have some of our players because randomly you'll see a guy that plays for Serbia, and you're like, no.
Hey, it's Goran Dragic.
No. Okay, no, you understand that, but no, there are guys who are like, you shouldn't be. How is he in this country? They're like, oh, maybe his father went to Germany once when he was 18.
Right. Well, either way, yeah. You know what? I don't think that's a bad suggestion. What you were kind of getting at there.
Yeah, the under 22.
Making it a real amateur competition.
No, and
then there's more to it.
No, that way, and then they make the Olympics anybody can play who they want. That
One of
way,
them has to be.
That's what it should be, right?
One of them should be because this isn't exciting anymore.
Thank you.
But we know that the losses have occurred in the past, and it wasn't that long ago that it happened. So
but when the U.S. loses in the Olympics, that's a little more monumental.
Yeah,
they lose in this,
right?
Okay, well then go find Kevin Love and LeBron James and tell me that we're actually having a competition here.
Don't forget Durant.
Tell me that we're actually in competition with the rest of the world.
And I know that I don't care about this because I never really paid that much attention to it to begin with.
Yeah.
This is the most we've ever talked about it, I'll be honest. So, you know what? We're going to move on because we won't talk about it for another 4 years. All right, Carol K. writes, the Panthers responded to backlash they received in Week 1 by deactivating defensive standout Greg Hardy in Week 2. Is this too little too late for the Panthers in an attempt to save face?
Yeah, too little too late.
It's too little too late, but I don't think enough people care for it to be a big deal for them because...
But why?
Because
I don't
everybody
know.
cares. Everybody cares about Ray Rice.
Well, that's just because that's what's in front of their face.
Okay, if you had said... If you had said there's a video we're not releasing, but we've seen, the league says we've seen a video of this, then why wouldn't it be the exact same? Where is the... You can't have outrage for one domestic violence dispute, but not another. It makes no sense.
But has he been convicted of anything?
He's already been convicted.
So there you go. That's a different story then. I mean, he's convicted of a crime, whereas McDonald has not been convicted of anything. So the people that are saying that that all of these guys should be suspended, I don't agree. I like that the NFL says we need to wait for the legal system to go through, because you could be completely wrong about
right,
what
but right
happened.
now he's in the middle of appeal, so he shouldn't.
Yeah,
been
he's
playing.
appealing a conviction that already happened.
But this is the NFL's fault,
Yeah, for
given the
not getting
conviction
into
for
it.
not handing down. I mean, the reality is that the teams are making, have these players on the field to make money and sell their product.
Mm-hmm.
It is the league's job to go by the rules and hand down disciplinary action.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really care what the individual teams are doing. The point of having a league that has oversight on everything that is going on within these teams, that's why they're there.
I can't deal with this.
He's completely right. I mean, you are right that the job of the commissioner is to discipline, and he's doing a terrible job at that. So, I mean, it really isn't always up to the teams. And, I know that the Ravens did the right thing. Sure, they did the right thing. They released the guy, fine. But, I don't know that he should have been suspended indefinitely after he was suspended for 2 games to start. That whole thing is a mess.
Yeah, you can't.
So it just brings the whole thing under scrutiny.
You actually, I believe you mentioned this
There's
a week
a
or
double
two ago.
jeopardy
Yeah,
in there,
you mentioned it. The whole fact that you have rules in place, you suspend them 2 games. Okay, that's done. Like you said, under double jeopardy, you can't go back and say, "Oh no, we didn't give him the right penalty the first time. Let's change the rules, and then let's go beyond the new rules we have and give him a different penalty."
Yeah, I don't think he has a legitimate gripe. I think he has proof that there is no way that this should have
Well,
happened.
they made it they basically made it the Ray Rice rule is what they're going to say. Oh no, it was so bad we had to give a different ruling because of video like that's not going to stand up.
Whether or not somebody wants to sign him after the fact,
different,
that's
yeah.
their
That's
choice.
completely different.
And I have a feeling that people would, but it is completely different.
They were trying to backtrack and cover their own PR mess. That's purely the reason, and that doesn't give you the right to go away from the collective bargaining agreement and just do whatever you want. That's why it's there.
Calling it new evidence, really?
Yeah.
So you needed evidence to know that the reason she was unconscious on the ground is because he socked her in the face? After a lot of people said that he did that.
After we knew that he socked her in the
After we
face.
knew that.
Guys, I admitted it. I didn't say she was taking a nap. I said I hit her. It's
Well,
like,
and I love
okay.
that, too. What is, I really actually, I'm kind of on Ray Rice's side just in that respect, that Roger Goodell literally threw him under the bus. That's just not right. It's just not right on any level.
He threw him under the elevator, not under the bus. Get out of here.
And also, on another note with this, is that the job of the Players Association is to have his back.
Yeah.
That's their job. It doesn't matter what he did. They're supposed to look out for the best interest of their individuals.
Yeah,
So
they failed.
So when people were saying, they can't bring a case against, nobody's going to willingly bring a case about this and bring something up. Yes, they will, because they're obligated to.
Yeah, why are they there? That's the whole point of the NFLPA, right?
Yes.
All right, we got to move on. We're tired of talking about negativity. Here's my favorite story of the week. Richard S. writes, Keenan Allen called out Richard Sherman after the Chargers' 30-21, I'm going to put this in quotes, upset win over the Seahawks, calling him just a normal guy. Do you think this claim is a bit ridiculous at this point? Why do people keep calling out Richard Sherman?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoy it. I have fun with it.
Maybe because Richard Sherman calls out everybody
Yeah.
else.
But
Yeah.
okay, hold on. Keenan Allen called him out, and the guy had like a mediocre game against Richard Sherman. He's like, "Yeah, see, you're a normal guy."
This is like gravy for Richard Sherman. He loves this.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to have people come out and say he can't. You're adding fuel to the fire to when you might meet again.
But no,
That's
the whole
pretty much
thing
what's
is he
happening.
didn't torch. He claims like he torched him in
Yeah,
this
they
game.
didn't get a touchdown. They didn't get what? They didn't get a catch on him.
Yeah, the official numbers, if you go by Elias or whatever, said they were 5 for 5 for 60 yards when throwing to him, and it was an actual considered a target. Like
the
congratulations.
San Diego Chargers went in and fearlessly threw at a cornerback.
Which means they got him in pretty decent matchups, is what they're saying. Because Keenan Allen caught like 3 balls.
Is this also coming off of the fact that the Packers didn't throw at him during Week 1? Because
I think that's part of it, because didn't he come out after the game and be like, "Yeah, see, like you game plan against me."
Does everybody know that Richard Sherman was guarding Jarrett Boykin for that game? Like
who? Exactly. Who?
Why is that so Aaron Rodgers chose to throw to Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and not Jarrett Boykin. So that's Richard Sherman? I don't know. I mean, Richard Sherman, I don't like that he chooses to portray himself like this, but if you're going to smack talk, then get ready to get it thrown back in your face. You guys lost. Ha.
Yeah.
I think the only argument with the whole Jarrett Boykin thing was that it wasn't by not throwing in that direction at all. It was allowing the safeties to play to the left side a lot more and not get concerned about the ball going on the right side.
Sure.
That makes
Absolutely.
sense. There's two big guys you were able to actually shadow as opposed to worrying about three.
Like, we understood what they were doing. Not everybody else does.
Yep.
And what it did was just build up this hype that he wasn't thrown at, and therefore he is unstoppable.
All right, hey, Chris Berman, the best part of the weekend was when you tried to read a tweet actually made by Richard Sherman. Did you see him do it?
No.
He read the following tweet: LMAO exposed, complete 3 passes, 0 touchdowns, 0 explosive passes. These guys make me laugh. He didn't know what LMAO was, so he didn't know that it was an acronym. He's like LMAO. It was really, really funny. It might have been my favorite part of the entire NFL week 2. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, Berman is always a great addition. I gotta say that.
Except for that announcing on Monday Night Football.
No, and except for Sunday NFL Countdown this Sunday, Ray Lewis needs to be removed from that program.
What is the deal with his hair?
Who, Berman or Ray
Yeah,
Rice?
Berman's got pinkish. He's got a pinkish hue, and I think he might have hair plugs in or something now. His hair is completely different.
I love how we somehow ended up going off this. Is it because I mentioned the name
You know
Ray
that
Lewis?
me of all people would see all of the details in Chris Berman's person.
Okay, I want an
He's
impression.
the only one that I look at.
Where's the impersonation? All right.
Coming up next.
Exactly. Coming up next, we're talking about all the injuries that happen in Week 2 and how they affect your fantasy teams. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick. Only on The Team.
All right, guys, I completely forgot to mention the band's back together. This is the first time we've all been together in a week and a half.
Nick had his honeymoon.
I know. Congratulations to Nick for your honeymoon.
Thank you very much.
We already talked about it on the show. He had a good time. He got some sun.
He was a beach bunny.
More like a beach whale, honestly.
What?
Oh, I was.
That
I
apparently
didn't
happened.
I did nothing.
So you're saying
I just sat in the sun. I had my drinks and I enjoyed my time with my wife. And then I got really ready to go because it was Sunday, and I don't really remember much of that Sunday, but it was still a good day because it was football.
Well, I would say your team didn't play, so that probably made it a little hazy.
Yeah, everything was hazy. Sun was hazy,
Yeah, okay.
but everything else was hazy.
All right. Things happen on vacation. You go to Mexico, you don't know what's in the drinks, and it happens.
Made a lot of good friends. A lot of good times.
Perfect. All right, we didn't
Great times, man.
we didn't make good friends this weekend on StarFantasyLeagues.com because everyone was complaining in the chat box. Injuries. That's all we have to talk about today on the Star Fantasy League show.
It ruined me.
I'm going to break down all of the... Okay, these aren't just that guy got injured, missed a couple plays. These are major injuries that are going to affect the next couple weeks, possibly next couple months for your fantasy team. We're going to tell you who it actually helps.
And I called one of them.
Okay, you did call one of them.
I did call one.
You know, do you want to start
Who's
with
the
it?
one that he called?
RG3.
You don't remember how much he talked about Kirk
yeah.
Cousins will play for this team this season?
You know you took my advice and you traded him away. You did. You definitely did.
That's not what happened.
You totally did.
I had 3 quarterbacks on
And
my
he
team.
knew that one of them was fragile.
All
Fragile
right.
as glass.
Let's talk about Robert Glass III. He this time not only remember how we talked about him being able to protect himself and not take these hits and just get out of bounds. This time when he got injured, he was not touched.
Yep.
He literally was doing his weird off-balance scrambling and just
scrambling.
messed up his ankle.
He was scrambling yet again. And what happens? Kirk Cousins comes in and throws a touchdown on the first play. My man.
I got to say, this will solve everybody's problems, so that's nice because Kirk Cousins is going to get the amount of time that allows people to
Make a
realize,
decision?
Yeah, to make a decision and realize what they're going to do going forward. If he is able to play how he has played, I think it's undoubtable that it puts him in a better position.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to say is that he did play against the Jaguars. They're nothing special. He should have torn them apart if he's a good starting quarterback. He does have a couple of nice matchups in Philly and New York, the Giants, coming up.
Oh.
Then after that, he's got Seattle, Arizona, and Tennessee. All 3 of them have solid pass defenses. So if he gets the start to that point, I'm going to be very interested to see how he does. Because if he fails miserably in either of those next 2 games, whatever, that's fine, you're out. But those 3 games are going to be ones that I got my eye on.
I'm very excited to see what Kirk Cousins does.
It's almost like there's just as much of a chance of him taking over the starting job as everybody knowing that it's just not that he's not gonna be the guy. It's like a coin flip. It seems like
It really is.
And he says all the right things too in the post game press conference. He literally went in there and said, "I am RG3's backup. I will be running this team until he gets back." Like that's what you want to hear from a backup guy. He's just gonna prove it on the field. All of a sudden, he's gonna come in there and be like, "Oh, now we need to start talking about Kirk Cousins being the guy. Don't let him say, yeah, this is my team now."
Well, I'm still worried about the politics in Washington because the fact is that they haven't really realized his potential up until this point. I mean, I know Robert Griffin III was a high draft pick, but at some point you got to wonder if he made the right decision.
I agree. I think
we'll see.
We're gonna find out. They claim Robert Griffin III is probably gonna miss 4 to 5 weeks, somewhere around there. So if it is 4 to 5 like actual games, that will be 6 games, including the one he just played. They might see enough. They really might see enough, especially with the weapons around him. If he does have some solid outings there and they win four of those games, why change?
I'm sure the Colts front office couldn't be happier at this point with the decision that they made.
Once again, for the second time in their history.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to another major guy that's going to have some strong fantasy implications. Jamal Charles, high ankle sprain, quote unquote, week to week, the worst thing in fantasy. I hate that term.
That is the worst. It is the worst.
A couple guys on this list are considered week to week. Jamal Charles being the first, Deshaun Jackson being the second, but Deshaun Jackson, let's be honest, that whole offense is probably still going to be fine in Washington with or without him. Mm-hmm. If he's gone, obviously Pierre Garçon is pretty much in line for every target in the world.
Yeah, then we're seeing 110 receptions again this season.
Although let's be honest, Niles Paul, where the heck did he come from the other day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, they played Jacksonville, so I'm not.
Yeah, but he did well the first week.
Sure. Yeah, but Jordan Reed would have done the same if he was in that game.
Yeah, but he's not. That's the whole thing.
He's not. I
issues,
totally understand.
So,
I agree. I'm just saying that I don't think I would put as much stock in Niles Paul because of the fact that he played a weaker defense.
I'll put a lot of stock in Niles Davis.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
Because he's always looked great when he's come in and gotten opportunities. He doesn't have the same explosiveness and versatility as Charles, but he's a pretty damn good running back.
Yeah, he's a bruiser, isn't he?
He is. He runs really hard, and he's shifty.
I would expect Jamal Charles to be out for a few weeks. I know that the Chiefs said that he could be out for 1 week, but it's a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, what's the
This
point?
is usually a 4 to 6 week timetable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's the point of rushing him back? I don't think this team is good. I still contend that they're going to win like 5 to 6 games.
I might agree with you. I might agree.
I gotta say though, that game yesterday
that would be a flip-flop.
That game was a little nerve-wracking.
It was a little
that divisional matchup.
Okay, like you said. Okay, that's a divisional matchup. Those games, even if the teams are one is just a juggernaut and the other one sucks, you're going to assume it's going to be a closely contested matchup.
I picked the Packers in Survivor.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Wow,
I have 2 Survivor philosophies. One is don't go with a divisional matchup.
Don't go with the obvious
and 2,
pick.
Take a home team.
You forgot. Don't ever go with the obvious pick.
You should try to steer clear
sometimes,
from it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really that obvious.
Okay, if you have to. But like people last week you saw with the Philadelphia-Jacksonville thing were crapping their pants for a half of football if they had in Survivor.
Yeah, I had Philly.
Yeah, there you go. See? That was the pick. And this week it actually was Green Bay. That was kind of the thing.
It's kind of shaping up like you might be able to just chase whoever Jacksonville's playing.
Or Oakland.
It's definitely possible.
Maybe.
I was on Houston this week because let's be honest, Oakland is not a football team. Not a football team.
They don't have
Stop
a defense.
It. All right, let's talk about another major guy that went down. A.J. Green, right toe injury again, week to week. If he misses time, this is why I want to talk about A.J. Green. If he misses time, I wouldn't touch anything to do with that entire passing offense.
I disagree completely.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mohamed
Sanu is actually coming out as a pretty...
Sanu's capable.
Yeah.
And the targets have to go somewhere.
And Marvin Jones will be back, so they will have some sort of addition to this offense. This is the one that worries me the most because turf toe, that tends to linger, and 2 to 3 weeks might not be enough.
When is Marvin Jones back?
He's supposed to be back after the week 4 bye.
Okay.
Well, but you wouldn't upgrade both Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard here to get more involved in the passing offense?
Gio Bernard had 32 touches yesterday. How much more can he get involved?
Well,
Jeremy Hill, sure. But at the same time, they're going to have to throw the ball. Andy Dalton's going to have to prove himself without A.J. Green. Scary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is his worst-case scenario. He gets his extension, and then it's like, oh, here you go. Your best weapon might be down for, I don't know, possibly 2 to 3 weeks.
Now, if he comes up and turns out to be the worst quarterback in the league after this, you may absolutely pile it onto me because I definitely was on the Andy Dalton train.
It is good that they got out in front and they're 2-0 because this is a little bit concerning.
Very concerning.
Yeah, and we don't know what that division is going to look like. Baltimore, they beat barely, and then they kind of went out there and smacked up Pittsburgh. And then Cleveland has actually looked like a real football team this season. They played Pittsburgh tight, and then they beat New Orleans.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think that might be an interesting division to watch, to be honest. But
Definitely.
I'm a homer.
That's always one.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about another interesting one. A guy that a lot of people thought was going to continue what he did last year. Ryan Matthews is going to miss possibly 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL. That doesn't sound like an injury I'm interested in at all.
No.
That's not good.
No, not at all, and especially because I think Zach was all over this before the season started. He is an injury-prone running back. He really is, and this is just worst-case scenario because you know what? He could come back. And he could be great, but most likely he's going to come back and he's going to be right back out the door.
Yeah, last year seemed like kind of an anomaly given what happened because he has had
been
such
bad.
a long history, it's shaping up to be, of injuries, and he was able to get through one season, finally.
Yep.
And everybody was kind of like, oh, okay, like there's no fear in that
Somebody's
anymore.
looking
But that
pretty
doesn't,
smart for signing Donald Brown
it
now.
doesn't just go away. And yes, Donald Brown is the guy. I mean, if you see Danny Woodhead in this backfield, and what he's capable of doing in the run game, it's not much.
No.
It's really not. And now that they don't have the same guy calling the plays in Norv Turner, you don't have that same versatility out of him, and he's not shaping up to be the pick that you hoped he would be.
I think Woodhead still gets a fantasy bump just because he's going to get more volume, but it's going to be in the passing game. It's not going to be in the running game.
We know that Donald Brown is capable in the passing game as well.
That's-
So I think he'll retain what he has, which is 5 to 6 touches per game, it seems like, and then take all of Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a pretty 50-50 split. Maybe a little bit more for Brown just because he gets that early
I
down work.
think it is going to end up being almost exclusively Brown in the run game because Danny Woodhead, like you say, doesn't get that many touches in the run game. It's all pretty much in these wide out passes.
He's so small.
Yep.
He just is. He's great in space because he's fast.
Shifty.
But he's going to get clobbered at the line if they try to run him up the middle.
He's what you'd call the human pinball. I actually think we're going to talk a lot. So yeah, he pretty much is. He's kind of a little
He's
pinball.
a pinball that gets crushed. He doesn't.
All right.
He doesn't bounce. There's no bouncing after the first. He
That's
just,
why
he takes
when
the hit
hold
and he
on.
goes down.
That's why when pinball, the bumpers are much bigger than the ball.
That was actually Berman-esque what John just did.
I know.
He's what you
he's
call
a pinball.
the human pinball.
Except I can't do the voice.
the human
Oh, man.
God,
What a bad week for injuries. This is just so sad.
I know.
It is. It's not good. A lot of people are in big trouble in their leagues.
Yeah, you know what the worst part is? We're still going. I'm not done talking about injuries. I do really think we're going to talk about a waiver wire tomorrow on the Star Fantasy League show. Donald Brown.
There's
There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff on the waiver wire.
Absolutely.
And we will talk about it on tomorrow's show, 5 p.m. Yeah. No, I just gave an advertisement
Good
during
sell.
our show.
Good
That's
sell.
terrible. All right, the next guy I want to talk about because for some reason he's a guy that has kind of flown under the radar during his career. He's a Heisman winner. Mark Ingram, having the best year of his career through, let's say, 2 games, but
He's back involved in the offense, and we certainly didn't see that coming.
No, I honestly thought Kyrie Robinson was going because of the way he played in the playoffs for New Orleans. They gave him a lot of the rushing duties, and all of a sudden this year they're like, nah, Mark Ingram again.
This is a blow for him. I'm really actually kind of upset for him because I was excited to see that he was actually involved, but at the same time, now this is what New Orleans offense was prepared for. They were, if one guy went down, they had another guy that could step up.
Isn't that's their MO though?
But maybe this was the concern that we didn't really realize or take into account with Mark Ingram all along is that he actually is fragile.
Could be. Absolutely. Well, Kyrie Robinson's going to be able to step in. He's going to be able to fill in these duties just fine. So, obviously, when we talk about the waiver wire, I think he's going to be up there as well. But, yeah, I don't think this hurts the Saints' offense that much. But the Saints are also 0-2, so what the heck is going on there?
Yeah,
The Saints are 0-2.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I watched a lot of that Cleveland New Orleans game, and Cleveland either looked really good or New Orleans is just horrible. And I can't tell which it is yet because, like we said, through 4 weeks, you just don't know. We don't see enough from these teams.
I
yet.
would think of it as more of a rough start.
Could be.
Why can't you just give any credit to Cleveland fans? They're close enough to hear. We
No.
want to hear some encouraging words.
Sorry, Cleveland.
That's not very nice.
No, it's not.
All right, coming up after the break, we're going to talk about 2 more guys that got injured in Week 2 of the NFL season. We'll talk about their fantasy implications. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back, and it just so happens to be Injury Monday on the Star Fantasy League Show, sadly, of course.
Yeah, and I hope it's not like this every Monday because this is just not what we're looking for.
This is too much. There's always injuries every week. This is just above and beyond.
Well, and the worst part is when they leave you hanging. You know, they're like, it's a week-to-week injury, like with Jamal Charles, or he may be back earlier than projected. Like, come on.
I hate that stuff.
You know what? We're going to give it to you real. Expect Jamal Charles to be out. Expect A.J. Green to be out. Just prepare backup.
Yeah, okay. Hold on. Let's talk about the week.
They don't know.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Give me the MRI, damn it.
Telling you.
Can we talk about the word?
John's going to read the MRI for us.
No. I'm saying I want to hear it from a team doctor. I don't want to hear like an announcer midway through the game go, "Yeah, that's like a 2-week injury." It's like, shut up. You don't know.
Unfortunately, that's just that's Bill
Speculation.
Belichick.
All right, yeah, the week-to-week. Remember Roddy White last season was week-to-week for 9 straight weeks because he just got on the field and was like,
Yeah,
can't
remember
really play.
Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone and was supposedly supposed to be back in 2 weeks?
Yeah, my father broke his collarbone. It was like 4 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Not an injury you should be coming back from. Anyways, if you're left hanging by any of these week 2 injuries, you know what the best thing to do to get over those injuries?
Play daily fantasy?
Play at StarFantasyLeagues.com. Look at that. Nick did it.
He was on top of that.
Nick did it right. And we have a bonus code for you if you haven't played daily or you're just used to season long and your season's basically already over. If you had, 2 of these guys on your team, go play on StarFantasyLeagues.com. The bonus code is FREE14, FREE14, 100% to $2,000 deposit bonus.
You know, it's totally conceivable that you could have had this in
it
the
is.
lineup.
You could have had all of those guys.
Robert Griffin III, Jamal Charles, and Ryan Matthews as your running backs. A.J. Green, Deshaun Jackson, and Eric Decker as your wide receivers, and Vernon Davis also out with an ankle injury.
We didn't talk about Eric Decker. He played a great game the other day, had what should have been the game-tying catch if your offensive coordinator.
No, that was Jeremy Curley.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It was Curley. He was out the play before, right? He got injured right before that.
Decker, he did have a touchdown catch, and he was looking really good against the Packers. He was starting to gel with Geno Smith, and if he's out, that's a really big blow to both of those players.
I mean, I'm happy for him that he's actually has that type of talent to be the standout guy.
We weren't sure. Coming from a Peyton Manning system, he could have been one of those guys that was made by Peyton Manning. We just didn't know.
He certainly looks like
he's the guy getting the targets.
I mean, let's be honest. The Jets spent a lot of money to get him there. We weren't sure if it was a smart investment. Even if it turns out he's like a great guy, it may be reached, but...
Yeah, they also spent a lot of money to get Chris Johnson in there, and Chris Ivory is the better back out of it.
And I'll be honest, I can't tell which it is because both of their dreads cover their name, and I'm always like, oh, Ivory, nice run. No, that's Chris Johnson. God, thanks a lot.
Felt the same way.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Let's talk about one more injury because it happened when you were there, Zach, and I'm glad that you didn't see it up close because it was not fun to watch. Noshawn Moreno, elbow dislocation. This brings me back to the time Rajon Rondo had an elbow dislocation. One of the most gruesome things I've seen.
It's just one of those ones I just turn away from the TV. I hate those.
Correct.
This just brings you back to Noshawn Moreno and the issues that he has had throughout his career.
This is a freak injury.
I don't care. He is injury prone. He's been injury prone his whole career.
There's injury prone and then there's freak accidents where your elbow gets twisted the wrong way. Like, stop with that.
Just wait till the next thing happens.
He's going to hurt himself riding the exercise bike in the
One of
office.
his fingers will just fall off while he's running.
All right, but let's be honest. He did have a pretty big workload in the first 2 games. He was actually looking like the guy.
He can't handle the workload.
Well, he was certainly
He
was better than Lamar Miller because Lamar Miller is not showing up right now.
No more Noshawn.
I was going to say, is it possible that we're going to have to deal with Lamar Miller's hype train yet again, and it's going to go right off the rails?
I'm going to be selling him as quickly as possible.
They don't have another option.
No, they don't. So what? Doesn't mean he's any good.
Pick him up.
Oh God, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about it on tomorrow's show. Play at StarFantasyLeagues.com. 100% deposit bonus to $2,000 using the bonus code FREE14. And I swear we're not gonna talk about Noshawn Moreno anymore on this show. So if you're unfortunate enough to own Noshawn Moreno, don't forget to play StarFantasyLeagues.com for daily fantasy football. Is that it, guys?
I think
Done?
that's it.
All right, that's it, guys.
Way to go, Bills.
Go Bills! Thank you, guys.